So today, I'm going to let you know my thoughts on this car. I fixed it, so I had it on the trailer. To get it in the shop, I had to put a new tie rod into it and basically go from there. So I put a new tie rod into it, put it all back together, and drove it into the shop. I took off the hood and I started looking at this thing, thinking maybe I could get one more run out of it, and I don't think I can. This car here was so rusty that I don't think it's worth getting another run out of. So the frame has pretty much eaten on itself about 1.5 inches right here. As you can see, it's completely folded under. There, you can kind of see what I mean by it's eaten itself. The frame has imploded on itself right there. And if that was the only issue, I would put a plate on this side and I'd put a plate on this side and I'd run it again. The sub has dropped quite a bit, and I couldn't figure out why the sub dropped so much. And then once the hood was off, I seen this. Look at that. The frame is kinked all the way back here at firewall. There we go. You can kind of see the frame seam. No, it's blurry. Let me try to get all this stuff out of the way. There. See this right here? How that's bent and ripped away at the ceiling? The seal. And then this one here is kinked 90. And that's a hard kink. So the frame has actually come out almost 1 inch. And then it's folded on itself 1.5 inches. I was curious why this bumper looked like it was back so far on driver's side. And that's the reason there. I have never had a car bend right there, and it's because of that I'm not going to even waste my time running with this. If I run this again, this frame rail is just going to come in and come in and come in really fast, and if you take a look, the subframe is already touching the transmission, so all I'm going to do is damage another transmission, which I do not want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically pull everything out and go from there, and I don't really want to drop the sub in this because I want this car to be movable. So I'm going to take this motor out through the top. I'm going to leave the axles in. I'm probably just going to cut the rad support out because it's pretty much garbage. I've already started getting the motor disconnected. I've got the, well, look at ready. Vacuum lines are just connected. I got the computer unplugged. I got the transmission lines all looped back. I've got the main power for the starter hooked off. I've got the loop kit out. I've got the steering lines undone. I've pretty much got everything already off this. It's going to come out through the top. I've got all the motor mounts out. What else? After that, I'm going to take the cage out, starting with a gas tank protector. Just got to trim all my welds here. Pull this out through the back, pull the cage out. I'm going to toss that in the garbage because that is no good. That is the main reason why I'm out. Pull everything out and get this car ready for scrap, basically. I'd really like to run this thing again, but with how this frame is looking, I do not think it is worth my time, effort, or even money to enter this thing into one more run. So, oh, look at that. I do have a bent tie rod here on driver's side. I did not know I had a bent tie rod. So there's not a whole lot I'm going to save off this, believe it or not, just because of how rusty it is. I might save the bumper, but in Ontario this bumper is a little thin for what we're allowed. I might save it. It probably wouldn't hurt to, but I guess let's start taking this thing apart and go from there. Well, now that the motor is out, we can get a better view of this car. So, you guys ready to count the kinks? Ready? Count them with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a bad one. I'm gonna count that as 2 because 1, 2, and then the other side. So that one's like 5, 6, 7, and then there's also one starting right there. That's gonna be 8. There is no sense to me to run this again. And not only that, but if you take a look, all my towers have started to fold. There is no sense to run this car again. All I'm going to end up doing is damaging my motor. I know it's not a fancy motor, but you know what? I'm kind of running out of these motors, so a running motor is a running motor that I need to keep and reuse. So that's what we are going to do. I I just cut the 2 boots basically and pulled out. That one there was already cut because I had to change it at the Derby. Just going to pull the axles out now, and that's about it. I'm just going to remove the cage. I'm going to leave the subframe in it. As you can see, I also do have a bent tie rod on the driver's side. But no, it came out pretty easily. The next thing we're going to do is remove our cage, take our brake block offs out. I'm going to keep the brake booster hose because the V6s doesn't have that, so I always like to keep a stockpile. But I'm actually fairly disappointed with this car. Now, I did try something new by shortening up this front end. I really did try something that I haven't tried before. So maybe this is how they go when you do this. I'm not sure, but I don't know. That's kind of weird to me. What we still have to do is take out the cage, the front window bar, the gas tank, the battery box, the transmission cooler, the shifter. I already thrown out some of the toggle switches, so I'll take out the ones I haven't thrown out. Battery cables, computer, basically everything that's still in the car. I don't know. I feel very tired today. I'm not sure what the reason is. I might go inside and try to take a nap or something. Haven't really done anything today, but I just don't feel like being out here today, really. But, oh well. Let's keep going, see how far I can get. So we all know the engine's out, but now everything else out of this car is out. When I say everything, I mean cage, battery box, seat, pretty much everything I've ever wanted out of a car is out of this. It's got to take the driver's seat belt. That is one of the last items to come out from the interior of this. But I have started taking some other parts off of this. It's not very often where I have a rear quarter panel that is not that bad. As you can see, it's got some damage right back here, but overall it's not that bad. So we've got the passenger one cut out, and then we just got to cut the driver one out now. A little bit more torch work, and then basically be able to pull this thing onto the trailer. Probably not going to save the roof. I've saved roofs in the past, but just for body metal. I don't think I'm going to save this one. We're just, everything that we cut out, we're just throwing back into it except for the pieces I need. So, yeah, it's coming apart pretty good. You can't cut through these with a Sawzall, though. These are the springs for your trunk. So the reason why I'm saving those is because I may have bought a car that, well, I may have traded for a car that needs these. I know I wouldn't replace these in a sedan, so maybe you guys pay attention to what might be coming. But yeah, so it's not very often I get to save pieces like that, so I'm just going to enjoy it. We just cut right down the door seams and all that fun stuff. But yeah, it all came apart pretty nicely back here. It was a little bit of messing around. This is my first time ever doing anything like this, so I guess we're bound to come into problems. Now, I don't know if I need all that, but I took all of it. That's probably the exact same thing I'm going to do on the other side as well. Take what I think I need, and if I don't end up needing it, then it's garbage. Just don't need it then, right? So I'm going to keep taking that apart, but I just wanted to show you guys. It was a period of about an hour, and I got my battery, my gas tank, my cage, my gas tank protector, everything out of it, all my wiring, toggle switches, and everything like that. And I do want to say something you guys may have seen in the aftermath, that I did have a toggle switch break from this box I bought at the swap meet. If you guys can see, it's kind of bubbled up right there, and you can see it all burnt out in the middle. He actually contacted me. He heard rumors that one of my switches had died, and I said, yes, one of them has. He is sending me a new toggle switch that is a higher voltage than this. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll try it at a couple of the smaller shows around me and see if it passes a couple of tests again. But other than that, I might be using that. Now, I did go out and buy these ones. I might try to use some of these ones as well. They feel very heavy duty. If you take a look, they're 20 amps at 125 volts. So these things here are designed to take a much, much, much higher voltage and amperage than what this car should need. So I did buy 5 of those, and we'll maybe have to try those out. So once this thing gets on the trailer, I'll pull all the rear suspension out because I do want to save everything that is still somewhat good, and pretty much every part in this rear suspension is still good. So we will be saving what we can once it's on the trailer. And when it's on the trailer, I'm going to pull all the front suspension out. This strut, control arm, spindle, brake. And on this side, I'm going to pull control arm, spindle, brake. Pull both tie rods. Maybe just one, because that one there's bent. I don't know the condition. We still have to take our brake pieces and all that. But this thing should be on the trailer tonight if I can get that other one out of there. So that's my goal, is to get that out of there tonight. But she's all torn down, going to be loaded on the trailer. I'm not going to throw a whole lot of stuff on the inside of this, and the reason is because I'm not sure how easy it's going to be able to move with the whole back end torn apart on this. If it's going to be extremely hard to move or anything like that. But we'll see. Once it's all torn apart, we'll see if it's easy to move. I might throw some more junk inside this just to get it out of here. Front bumpers, rear bumpers, glass, windshields, that kind of stuff. Just huck her in there and get her on the trailer. But let's get this side apart, and this car here is going to be going in the scrap very shortly. Well, I've got pretty much everything I want off the car. I've got spindles, control arms, struts, front, rear, trailing arms, you name it, I've got it. And there's not a whole lot left of this car. I was going to save this bumper, and then I started looking at it more, and she's got a pretty big kink in the front. I was only allowed 3/16 where I ran at Mini Meltdown, so that's all I used, is because I try to follow the rules as best as I can. But I think 3/16 is a little bit thin for a bumper. 1/4 inch is where it's at, so I'm just going to scrap that. Start fresh, build a new one. But this thing here will probably be going in the scrap within tomorrow or the next day. I'm not 100% sure when, but it will definitely be going in. What am I going to do? So I could pull that one over and start working on that. I'm completely drained. I am just so tired. What I really need to do is, well, that car has to be built for later on in the season. That one's the radio station car. This motor's got to go in the trash, but I got to keep the transmission. I'm not even going to keep the subframe because some of these bolts are pretty much stripped for this, but it's a shame because it's a nice subframe. I don't know. I might look into that, see if I can get that working and fixed. Not sure why it did that, but I need this transmission torque converter. This motor's good. This subframe is good. Is it good? And she's got a little kink. She's got a little kink. And then this one here, the motor's bad, but the transmission is good. So that's what I got right there on that one. So I need to basically get all these motors sorted out. That one there has got a whole bunch of new parts on it. I want to move them back to here again because that's where I like keeping all my motors, is up here out of the way. So that's something I do have to do. Like I said, there's so much to do, so little time, everything like that. Got to figure out some stuff, basically. But we got a couple cars that need to be fixed still. That one right there, I'm not fixing. That one actually somebody else is fixing. What I was thinking about doing is pulling this car into my shop. This is a V6 Toyota Camry that is seized solid. I bought this off a guy that was doing an endurance race. You guys might have seen this about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. But it's half decently clean. I'd obviously pull this motor because it's seized. I got a 4-cylinder that's on the engine crane right now. That would be a good candidate to go into this. But that's what I'm debating, is maybe pulling this one in, throwing this 4-cylinder over here out of the way, the 4-cylinder 2-door, and seeing about that. But I don't know. I really don't know. This one here would obviously be a stalker build. It's kind of got a cage already put into it, but who knows. But oh well, that car is heading into scrap very shortly. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.